Okay.
Looks like folks are connecting to audio. Good morning, everybody. We're just waiting for everybody to get logged in. Cheryl, just as a quick check, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thanks. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Good morning, everybody. Happy January 25th. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been a busy week since we last saw each other a week ago. Has anything newsworthy happened this past week? It's hard to tell. Up on the screen, you have the overview of topics we're going to cover today. Jill Cramer is here from the Board of Governors to talk about judicial evaluations, a pretty important function that the MSBA provides. And one thing that I just want to remind folks of, please do feel free to ask questions as we go through this in the chat, and we'll catch them and cover them as best we can. And as always, Bar Talks are recorded, put up on YouTube, available through our website in case you miss one week. You can, don't worry, you can always go back and catch it later. So a quick overview of where things stand with the governor's office and the judicial branch. Not a huge amount to report here. We have a note here left over from last week, this January 12th note. The PMO number 1 was altered to provide for a new system for agencies to schedule arraignments. I think that primarily involves the agencies themselves. I'm not sure how many of us that will matter to, but just want to make sure you are aware of it. As you know, Governor Mills activated the Maine National Guard, and fortunately, that does not appear to have been needed this past week. The state of a civil emergency has been extended. I suspect that is not the last time we will see an extension of that state of emergency. Perhaps the most significant thing here, as you all may have seen, whether it be through Cleve's Law Library email or MSBA's email, is that the judicial branch has announced a number of updates and tweaks to the e-file Maine system that went live recently in a couple of jurisdictions. The important thing for me is that this reflects how important feedback is to the judicial branch right now, and the fact that they are taking that feedback and working to make improvements. It's obviously a new system. The bugs need to be worked out. I encourage you to pass along any issues that you come across. If you would like to pass that along through us, we would be happy to take that, pass it on to the judicial branch. Simply send it to Angela, and we'll make sure that gets passed along. And as always, make sure that you are checking the judicial branch's website if you're headed over to a courthouse to make sure that it is in fact open. So that's the overview of the logistical matters that face us. And now I'm pleased to have Jill join us. Judicial evaluations. This is one of those things that I just did not realize how important this was and how much the MSBA contributes to the process when I first joined the Board of Governors. It is a very important process, and Jill has kindly agreed to come share just an overview of how that process works for any of those who might be interested. Again, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll interject them in as appropriate. Jill, over to you.
All right, thank you, Kelly. It's thanks for the great introduction. Everybody, buckle your seatbelts. This is going to be a wild ride. As Kelly introduced, I am Jill Cramer. I'm the chair of the Judicial Evaluation Committee, and like him, had no idea what that was all about until I ended up on this committee, and so grateful that I have. I am on the Board of Governors representative for District 1, which is York County, and we're telling you this right now because judicial evaluations are coming up. Every year in March, we send out judicial evaluation surveys by email. There are hard copies for those of our low-tech colleagues, and I'm hoping that all of you take this information today, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your colleagues, tell everybody, because it's such an important process. In January, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process. In January, every year, we get a list of all of the judges who are coming up for reappointment. This year, we've got 17 of them. These would include folks who are up in the last year of their 6-year appointment and judges who are in the 2nd year of their term, whether they're a new judge brand new to the bench or they've transitioned from district court to superior court. They get reviewed as well, although those are just sort of advisory, like here's what we think how you're doing so far. But those don't necessarily have those. We don't recommend them for reappointment because they're not up for reappointment. This is just hey, here's our feedback so far. This is what you're doing great. Kudos to you. This is what you need improvement on. And so, in fact, we've got a lot of judges from York County on the list this year. And we send out a survey every year. Angela sends that out. Open it up. Fill it out right away. If you forget to fill it out right away, you might never get to it. The window's open for about a month. And we evaluate judges from excellent to deficient in 6 categories. Their legal ability, including knowledge of substantive laws, evidentiary laws, legal analysis, their impartiality, their treatment of litigants and attorneys, their integrity, their judicial temperament, their diligence and preparation, and any special, actually just 2 categories of special skills right now, sentencing fairness and competence in family cases. Now, the Judicial Evaluation Committee, there's 7 of us. We had every intention of updating the survey instrument. It's been a decade or more. Some of the language we did find was a little outdated. We do want to add new categories, update the language, just tweak it for modern days. But what's going out now is the one that we've been working with, and we evaluate those judges in those 6 categories. There's room for comment. We're always looking for strengths, weaknesses, any other comments that you have. And it's usually this group of comments that are so valuable to my committee when we're making determinations about the judges and the judges themselves. That's actually where all the juicy goodness is. So good, bad, or indifferent. You all need to know that all of your responses are completely anonymous. The results are confidential, and here's what we do with them. We send out the survey, we send you a couple of reminders. The period is open for about a month. When the period expires, Angela has software that we collect all the raw data. It gets analyzed. It spits out basically a report for each of the judges that were reviewed. And it hits all of those 6 areas, plus it incorporates all of the comments that you guys wrote in, all completely anonymous. Again, we don't even know who you are. That information gets sent to my committee. We talk about each judge one by one. If there are areas of concern, whether they're based on the comments or the judges get lower scores, something besides good or excellent, we talk about that judge. And if the committee as a whole feels like more investigation is needed, say there were a lot of comments about this one particular area, they're really slow getting out judgments, or there's a perceived bias or whatever it is, we kick that up to the Board of Governors and we say, we think that this judge needs a little bit further investigation. We don't just rubber stamp these things. And the investigation could look like a lot of different things. It could just be an internal discussion. It could be we're reaching out to the practitioners in front of this judge to talk to them about their experiences, to get a little more information. Were the comments just one disgruntled attorney who had a bad experience, or just talking about one judge who had a bad day? Or is it, sort of systemic, whatever it was? And at times we've called judges in to talk and answer questions in front of the Board of Governors about their performance. And so your feedback is really valuable. I suppose that's my point. Once we've undergone our review, we make a recommendation to the Board of Governors for reappointment or not. And then that information goes in a report to the judge with our recommendation. It goes to the judge. That judge is chief judge or justice, and then the actual chief justice of the law court. And so pretty much everybody internally who's related to this judge gets that feedback. And again, this is, I think, as far as I could tell, the only feedback that these judges get is from the people who are practicing in front of them every day. I'm not sure their bosses sit down with them and, hey, say, I saw you in court the other day and you were kind of rude to this pro se litigant. I honestly, I don't think that really happens. And so we are the only ones who are judging the judges and giving them feedback. If they're doing something great, send kudos. If there's something, an issue that you've had repeatedly that you want to bring up, bring it up. They won't know to fix it if we don't tell them about it. So this is your opportunity to do that. As I said, it's confidential. Um, um, Here's one thing that we've struggled a little bit with, and we don't know how it's going to look this year with COVID. I mean, everybody's been kind of benched. We're all doing the Zoom thing. If folks want to weigh in on how the judges have pivoted during this time of remote hearings, if they've made it work well, if it's been more cumbersome for you, that's going to be good feedback. But our goal is always to increase responses. We need reliable data. If 2 out of 5 people think this judge is rubbish for whatever reason, that's valuable. But if 95 out of 100 fill out these things and think that judge has an area of weakness in something, that just becomes all the more valuable and all the more reliable. And so, it's not a witch hunt. We're just looking to provide feedback for those judges to incorporate into their own practices, and for us to have a voice, for us to be heard. How is our practice going in front of these judges? What could they do better? What are they doing great already? And anecdotally, I think all of them take it to heart. I think this is something they look forward to receiving, and that they, just take it and use it, and hopefully address any issues that those practicing in front of them have identified. I know it's not all of us. So even if you just see one judge, if you just fill out that judge's survey each year, this year, then just do that one. You're obviously not going to know everybody. As I say, a lot of York County judges this year, so those of us down in my area, fill them out. We're going to be plugging them at the upcoming bar conference, the winter bar conference. I know Angela's going to talk about that in a minute. That's this week. Everything's, of course, virtual. There's a lot of great topics. Hopefully Angela will give us a little rundown. I still have to sign up for mine too. But just make your voices be heard. The judges are going to depend on our feedback, and it's the only way we ever get to tell them what they're doing well and what they need to work on. So I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Hopefully I've given you a little bit of an overview of the process. It's such an important, it's crucial process, I think. We're the only ones who get to hold them accountable. And so thank you for your anticipated participation. Look for those in your inbox in March. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me or to Angela. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Jill. Cheryl shared the observation, as did you, that it's going to be a little bit trickier this year with COVID because we haven't seen as many judges as we might have normally. Can you talk a little bit about what the historically, what impact have we seen from judges going through this process? I've got some recollections of that, but give you the opportunity to speak to the impact that this has on the judges or on how they practice.
Well, I mean, just again, anecdotally, I haven't talked to any judges who are like, "Hey, Jill, thank you so much for this report." It does seem to be pretty much of a private issue for them. They certainly are able to share the information that we provide them with others. But just anecdotally, I think particularly the judges, just last year we had a couple of judges that we took a little bit a closer look at. And it would be my hope and aspirational goal, I guess, that those judges are really incorporating the comments that folks have made and reapproaching their, practice on the bench in a way that, addresses those areas of concern. But you've been on the board a lot longer than me, Kelly. What do you have to? Well,
in fact, I have two recollections. One recollection is a judge who we asked to come in front of us. We had enough concerns based on the survey. And then we actually went out, we called more practitioners in that area to get direct feedback on these issues. And then we asked the judge to come in to talk to us and to share his or her experiences and perspective. And on two different occasions, in one situation, when we did the next 6 years later, or 4 years later, I can't remember the cycle, when we did the next evaluation round, we were pleased to see that there was significant improvement. In fact, some of the people who weighed in on the surveys noted that. Then there was another occasion where we were seeing some of the same patterns repeating themselves, where the same concerns had not gone away, and on our part, that called for a little bit of a stronger response to the judge and how we approach that judge's reappointment. And so, it like any feedback, it's valuable when the judges take it to heart and are humble about it and try to work towards improvement. And it's when they don't listen to that improvement that we start getting a little bit concerned. The only other thing I want to note is that in terms of response rate, we have a particular issue with our more rural counties. We will often get a survey on a judge who only sits in Oxford, and we'll get 11 responses, and that's all we have to go on. And that is a significant concern if you've got a couple of those people who have had bad experiences with the judge. And that's where we have to go out and actually proactively call people and say, hey, what kind of anonymous feedback are you willing to share with me? And so please do provide your feedback if you are in more remote places, because sometimes the response rate is so low, it makes it very difficult to do what we want to do with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And one thing to Cheryl's question here, it has been a difficult year. Not many of us have been practicing in court or even virtually. But again, most of them are 6-year reappointments, and at the very least, they'll be the 2-year review. So think back to the last 5 years. What have your experiences been? Even if it's only been one time you've been in front of this judge, what were your impressions? Thinking about those 6 areas, thinking about anything you remember from your time in front of that judge that's worth noting and worth commenting on, for good or bad or indifferent. It's valuable. So you've got those 5.5 years to kind of look back on, and for the newer ones, at least 1.5 years to look back on. So hearken back to the best of your ability to whatever you think you might be able to contribute here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jill. Really appreciate it. If people have follow-up questions, feel free to put them in chat. Angela, over to you. Let's talk about do we have anything going on this week?
Just a couple of things. Thanks, Kelly. Not on the slide is we have our first, Board of Governors meeting of 2021, which Kelly will preside over his first meeting as president. That will be held virtually. Just to give all of you a heads up as well, Jill Cramer, Kelly McDonald, Jim Cohen, our legislative counsel, and I will be briefing the Judiciary Committee tomorrow before our board meeting about our judicial evaluation process, because as you know, the committee is a new committee this year, and although it has a few people who were on it before, most of them are new and needing to know what we do. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then Wednesday through Friday, we have the Winter Bar Conference. And I hope you will be joining us for at least one of the sessions. We've got an H&D program with Dr. Peary that is on Wednesday morning. We've got e-filing on Thursday morning. Those are the plenary sessions. And then the rest of the time we have concurrent sessions, all kinds of topics, ethics topics in there, real estate, remote proceedings. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So you can find it on our website. So please go there and visit. And online registration will close at noon tomorrow. If you decide you want to register after that, you'll have to print off a registration form and either email it or fax it in to us. But online registration does close at noon tomorrow. And we have a good almost 200 people, I think, at this point attending. And we've got 10 different time slots with 28 different sessions going on. So we hope you'll be joining us. And the other thing on the slide is our upcoming guests for the next few weeks. Dan Murphy from the Maine Bar Journal will be joining us next week. So hopefully we'll see you then.
Excellent. Thank you, Angela. One other note on the Winter Bar Conference, we will be holding our annual membership meeting on Thursday morning at 8:30. Is that right, Angela?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so unfortunately, we were not able to gather the people in our in-person meeting here in Portland a couple of weeks ago to amend the bylaws to allow for votes to happen virtually. So we will not be doing votes on bylaws at that meeting, but we'll still hold our membership meeting and cover what's been going on with the association. And on the personal side, I'm very thankful that some of our older neighbors are starting to get vaccinated. It is the beginning of a very long process to get us out of COVID-19. I encourage everybody to keep their guard up, keep wearing your masks, keep staying safe. because it's still a long, long road ahead of us with a very dangerous disease. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us here at the Maine State Bar Association Bar Talk for this Monday, January 25th. I enjoyed seeing you, kind of. I didn't really get to see you, but I'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Thanks, Kelly.